Hi Year 8s. Today we're going to do a draft drawing of your still life. Now, the equipment that you'll need, so everyone should have a grey copy picture of a still life. You should also have a coloured copy. You need the instruction sheet, a HB pencil, a red pen, a rubber, and a ruler. So today we're actually going to break our photocopy up into a grid. So it'll look something like this. The reason why we use the grid to draw our still life is it's much more easier to represent the inaccurate proportion of each object. So we actually use the grid lines as a ruler. So it's a point that we can refer to when we're drawing to get a very accurate proportion of each of the objects. So the first step is to draw your grid onto your grayscale photocopy. Now the reason why we're actually not drawing from life, but we're actually drawing from a photocopy is, first of all, it's easier, and second of all, you can take this copy home with you and do some work at home as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw points. So we're actually going to do a 3 by 3 centimeter grid. So when you're drawing this grid, you have to make sure that you're always measuring from the same side. So I'm measuring from the left side every 3 centimeters. I'm going to do a little mark. Because this image isn't quite even, we have just a little bit of leftover here. So we have to make sure that this leftover, when we measure the bottom, is on this side as well. So we're going to start on this side, on the left side again. So measuring every 3 centimeters. Okay, so you should have that little bit of leftover space down here. Now we're going to do the same on the vertical axis. So every 3 centimeters we'll measure. Make a little mark. So again, measuring from the top. So now you should have some clear marks. We're going to use the ruler and we're going to connect these up. To make it easier for you to see, you can do this line in a different colour, but because it's in pen, you need to make sure that you're careful so that your line that you're drawing is nice and straight. So make sure those points are lined up using your ruler. So doing the same with the vertical grid lines and the horizontal grid lines. Now, when you check your grid, it should be nice and square. Each square should be identical, of course, except for these leftover ones. Now, if you have something that looks like it's slanting, so your grid might be going like this, that is no good. That means that your image is going to be distorted and it'll get stretched that way. So you need to make sure that your grid lines are at 90-degree angles to each other. So make sure they're nice and square and even. Once you've done this, then you need to letter your horizontal axis and then number your vertical axis. So do the same at the bottom, A, B, C, D, E, and F, and then along the sides as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's actually the easy part done. Now you need to get your visual art diaries and draw the exact same grid into them on a spare page. Okay, so I've got my visual art diary here, and I've got my drawing which has got my grid on it. Now the easiest way I think to transfer my grid onto my book is to basically fold the edges of the piece of paper along the edge of your drawing so that you can use these sections as a ruler. Just folding the top. Bottom. And now the sides. Okay, so you should see that your paper has all the edges folded. So now what we're going to do is place it nice and flat on your book page, and we're going to do little marks at the corner. So one vertical mark and one horizontal mark, one vertical, one horizontal, vertical, horizontal, and the last one vertical and horizontal. Once you do this, you should have your box. So we're going to connect those points up now. So lining up my ruler to those vertical marks. So vertical line and then horizontal lines. And hopefully you've got a nice square shape. So now, just the same as what you've done before, so a 3 by 3 centimeter grid. So measuring 3 centimeters from the top. And then you need to do the same at the bottom, always measuring from the same side. So do the same for your vertical axis. Okay, so because this is your practice draft and this is where you're going to be doing your drawing, you need to draw the grid lines on here really lightly. So just heavy enough so that you can see it. So you only want it really faint. Making sure that those lines are nice and square. And the last thing we have to do to finish our grid off is letter and number your axis. So letters on your horizontal axis and numbers on your vertical. The reason why we do this is so that we've got a point of reference. So I know that that point is A1. Okay, and that's your grid to start your draft drawing of your still life.